7 so you can feel confident with every A1 garage door repair. Replacing the bottom rubber on your garage door can have a huge impact on the number of bugs you see in your garage and in your home. Keep those creepy crawlers outside by calling A1 Garage Door Service today and receive the best service, best parts, and best warranty in the industry.
A1Garage.com. A1 from day one.
Call today and take advantage of our $29.95 tune-up special.
Stars are shining down on Goldberg and Osborne. The Eagle has more than 2,200 five-star Google reviews from across Arizona, like these.
They go that extra mile to let you know they care. A wonderful experience.
They treat their clients like family, and their professionalism is the best in the business.
They made sure I got a great offer. Like a bulldog, they fought for me.
Well said, everyone. After any accident, remember, the bird is the word. Visit Goldberg and Osborne at 1-800-THE-EAGLE.com.
Springtime savings are going on now at Mark Mazda in Scottsdale. If you've been holding off on a new car, listen up.
You can lease a brand new 2025 Mazda CX-30 for just $242 a month plus tax for 36 months with just $3241 down. That's right, a brand new Mazda for under $250 a month. Looking to purchase instead? Right now, receive 2.9 APR for 72 months on the 2025 Mazda CX-70 and CX-90.
The name to remember? Mark Mazda. Mark Mazda. On approved credit plus 998.c.
Take advantage of thousands of dollars in SRP rebates and discounts on energy-efficient home upgrades like new air conditioning units, windows, ducts, and insulation. Save money on your energy bill while also making your home more comfortable. SRP's network of participating contractors can guide you from start to finish and maximize your savings by combining Inflation Reduction Act incentives with SRP rebates. Learn more at savewithsrp.com.
Springtime savings are going on now at Mark Mazda in Scottsdale. Right now, receive 2.9% APR for 72 months on the 2025 Mazda CX-70 and CX-90.
The name to remember? Mark Mazda. Mark Mazda. On approved credit plus 998.3.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix. It's the lunch break.
Limping their way to the NBA All-Star break. Welcome in the Thursday, February 13th edition of the Lunch Break live on KDUS AM 1060, the KDUS AM 1060 app, and on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube channel. That's it. No more. The first half, in air quotes, of the NBA season for the Phoenix Suns is done. The next time we will see them in action will be next Thursday when they take on the San Antonio Spurs. But there was a basketball game last night. It's our job here to react to that basketball game last night. But with the way yesterday went after we got off the air, I really don't know what you expected.
Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
They just ran out of gas. I mean, you watched that game last night, and it was Kevin Durant and friends. You didn't have Devin Booker. You didn't have Bradley Beal. You didn't have Grayson Allen. You were just without any extra scoring potential anywhere, up and down the lineup. Any of those guys that you could realistically look at and say, that's our guy. That's our guy that's going to help. Kevin Durant's going to score some points for us tonight. We know we can count. You didn't have anybody. We're going to talk a lot today about Ty Washington and Colin Gillespie, and there's a lot there with who Bol had another nice game last night, but you just don't have those reliable, consistent guys that you trust, right? It was always going to be an uphill battle last night. Yesterday, I told you. I said, man, this is a game the Suns can steal. Houston, it's got all these injuries. Definitely without their starting point guard. Their starting power forward might be without their starting center. That ended up to be not true. He was in the lineup last night, played pretty well. But the health battle was skewed towards the Suns. And that was how they could steal this game, carry some small momentum into the All-Star break. Feels a lot better today, Friday, into the weekend, talking about a team that's 500 and just beat the Houston Rockets in Houston, rather than the reality that we find ourselves in today. And that reality, 26-28, outside of the playoff picture, below 500 basketball team, injuries piling up once again, We could have lived in a different reality if last night went different. It did not. They weren't able to steal the game. They weren't able to carry some of that momentum into the All-Star break because after the show got done, we learned Devin Booker ruled out last night. So you had Kevin Durant and everybody else. And they tried, they scratched, they clawed, but it was going to be impossible for the Suns after you had just played the night before at home against Memphis to travel on the road to basically only have Kevin Durant as your one true trustworthy scorer of the basketball. The Rockets on the other side, that is a young athletic team. I know they didn't have Fred VanVleet. I know they didn't have Jabari Smith, but that is still a young athletic team who wasn't playing the second leg of a back-to-back. They were playing free and full of energy, and the Suns battled for 4 quarters, but at the end of the day, they ran out of gas. When I saw yesterday, sitting in my office, editing the show for YouTube and the social media clips that we put out, saw the news come across, Devin Booker ruled out, and I thought, man, this is going to be, they're not even going to be in this game. It's not even going to be competitive. So give credit where credit is due to the Phoenix Suns for making that a game basically the entire way. Led for stretches in the first half, led for stretches in the second half. It was a competitive fourth quarter, and we're going to talk about where it went sideways in the fourth quarter and why I think, and today might be the day we call for it, there are major changes that need to come to the lineup, the starting lineup, and the rotation for the Phoenix Suns. Some bad basketball last night from one player in particular that might need to sit down, might need to be out of the starting lineup. We'll get to that here a little bit later on in hour number 1 of the program. But the Suns were playing the second leg of a back-to-back. They were on the road, didn't have Devin Booker, ran out of gas. You already knew they weren't going to have Bradley Beal. They just didn't have anything left in the tank. The stretch of the game that I noted where things started to slide downhill was the start of the fourth quarter. The Suns had Kevin Durant on the bench to start the fourth quarter. And so I just told you all the guys that weren't available for the Phoenix Suns. And now Kevin Durant's not starting the fourth quarter of the basketball game. And it goes sideways. The Rockets go on a 6-0 run to take what was an 8-point Suns lead at the end of the third quarter and make it a 2-point lead like that. It was instantaneous. The game all of a sudden was competitive. The Suns into the fourth quarter had an 8-point lead. They closed the third quarter on a run. For the second straight night, they did the reverse of what everybody does to them. They played well in the second half. They played well in the third quarter. They ended the third quarter on a really nice run, carrying an 8-point lead. And you thought to yourself, oh my gosh, they're going to do it. They're going to go into Houston, a game they have no business winning, considering who's unavailable for them, and they're going to beat a young, athletic Houston team, and we are going to have just a little bit of optimism going into the All-Star break. And instantaneously, with Kevin Durant on the bench, the Rockets go on an immediate 6-0 run, and Kevin Durant has to be pulled right back off the bench and right back in to the lineup. Instantaneously, it then became a basketball game. And the game started to slide out of hand a little bit after that. Momentum swinging all over the place. And you have Bol, who for 2 straight nights is hitting shots in crucial spots. 104-101 Houston. He hits a big 3 to tie it at 104. But then the Suns went over a full 2 minutes without a point. And the Rockets just took control of the game. And the Suns ran out of steam. That's it. That's where the game was lost. The fourth quarter, the Rockets still had a little extra left in the tank. The Suns did not. So I am not going to give out moral victories for an 0-2 week, especially considering the basketball team is 26-28, considering the fact that they're not in a playoff spot right now. They don't even have a play-in tournament spot. I'm not interested in handing out moral victories. I wasn't interested in doing it yesterday with the Memphis game. I'm not interested in doing it here again. But I'll tell you what, this week felt a little different. It's 0-2. It's 2 losses. They're still out of the playoff race. Still not in the play-in tournament. But I saw fight for 2 straight nights against teams that, let's be honest with each other, Suns don't have business being on the floor with Memphis and Houston in their current state. But for 2 nights, 2 straight nights, they did exactly that. They were on the floor and they were competitive with Memphis and Houston. And last night, the second leg of a back-to-back, with a whole bunch of guys missing from the lineup, they brought the game all the way down to the final seconds, the final minutes. Perhaps this team has a little bit more in the tank for the quote-unquote second half that's coming. You've played 54 games. We're well past. We're 12 games past, 13 games past the midway point of the season. So it's not true first half, second half, but post All-Star break, 29 games remaining, they played 54. Let's do some quick math. 28 games remaining for the Suns in the quote-unquote second half. Maybe, just maybe, there's some extra gas left in the tank. Maybe there's a little extra fight. I saw that fight this week. They could have very easily mailed it in this week. Trade deadline comes and goes. The circus that was Kevin Durant trade rumors. The circus that still continues to be Kevin Durant's future for the Phoenix Suns. Playing Memphis and Houston with a couple of days off right there on the other side. They could have very easily packed it in and mailed it in, especially last night on the road in Houston. Dreams of a couple days off, dreams of just maybe hitting the reset button for a little bit. They could have very easily mailed that game in. No Devin Booker, no Bradley Beal, no Grayson Allen. You could have seen that team completely fold, and it would not have surprised you. You would have expected that last night from that basketball team. Yet they showed a level of fight that I don't think we've seen over the last couple of weeks. So I was encouraged by that. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They have dug themselves a very big hole that they now have to either dig themselves out of or climb themselves out of the hole, whatever version of the analogy you want to use. They are 26-28 at the All-Star break. They are a below 500 basketball team not playing good basketball. They aren't even in a play-in tournament spot. They've got problems all across the board. They have the hardest schedule remaining in the NBA over the final 28 games that they're going to play starting next Thursday. It is an uphill battle. Climbing out of that hole is not going to be an easy task. The betting markets would say it's unlikely. The 54-game sample size we've already seen points us in the direction of they're not going to be able to dig out of this. But they showed the fight this week. And we know it's almost frustrating to a point, but we know they have the talent to win and dig themselves out of this hole. They have Kevin Durant. He became the 8th player to join the 30,000-point club this week. They have Devin Booker. 2 weeks ago became the Suns franchise all-time leading scorer. They have Bradley Beal. And I know Bradley Beal is a figure right now in Suns basketball that you probably don't love what you've seen from Bradley Beal. But I am to an extent a Bradley Beal defender. He is a good basketball player. He can help this team. They have to find the right role for him. I have advocated for finding him some time where he can be out there completely by himself. It can be Bradley Beal and friends because I think he thrives in that environment. I still think he is talented enough and a good enough basketball player to help this team. They have the talent. This week, they showed the fight. They showed the fight against Memphis. They showed the fight last night against Houston. That's encouraging. Now, next week, on Thursday, when you take on San Antonio, you have to come out with your hair on fire. San Antonio, Toronto, Chicago, those are the next 3 games up. You got a couple of games against New Orleans right there outside of the All-Star break. This is the moment. So reset. Take the next couple of days, hit the reset button, take the mental break, don't think about basketball, and then come back next week with your hair on fire. Because that is what it is going to take for this team to dig out of this hole. But I saw something this week that gives me just a little bit of hope. A tiny bit of optimism. It's an 0-2 week. No moral victories. But I saw fight over the last 2 nights. And if they have that fight in the second half, they might be able to keep things competitive all the way through the end of the regular season. 480-864-1060 is the phone number if you want to get involved today on the program. Your phone call is always welcome here on the show. Coming up on the other side of the break, they are leaving the door wide open. So who's going to walk through it? That's next, the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
With the Dan Patrick Show brightens your mood to work. The DP Show airs live weekdays from 7 to 10 right here on KDUS AM 1060, 100.7 HD2, and KDUS1060.com.
In the concert event of a lifetime, come experience the unparalleled, dynamic energy of one of the most accomplished musicians of our time, Carlos Santana. Oneness Tour 2025, Friday, April 18th, Talking Stick Resort Amphitheater. Take a trip through the hits from Woodstock to Supernatural and beyond. On sale now at LiveNation.com, part of the America First Credit Union Concert Series.
The Renaissance Festival is back, weekends now through March 30th. Be ready to have a great time. Amazing adventure awaits the entire family. New shows, shopping, jousting nights, non-stop feasting. Leave your cares behind. Happiness reigns at the Renaissance Festival. It's fun and affordable. You'll love the Renaissance. Visit now through March 30th. Discount tickets available at Bashers' and Food City or online at arizona.renfestinfo.com. Presented by Delta Airlines, Bashers', Food City, Pepsi, Budweiser, and Guinness. Huzzah!
Connect directly, bid confidently. At Purple Wave Auction, transparency is key. With no reserves and no hidden surprises, you're connected directly to sellers so you can inspect and bid on quality equipment with confidence. Whether you're looking for ag, construction, or fleet equipment, we're here to ensure a clear, hassle-free experience. Register today at purplewave.com and start bidding with peace of mind. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
The Valley of the Sun will roar to life this spring.
This ought to get pretty wild here.
Why is that, you may ask? Because NASCAR is coming to Phoenix, and it's going to be a weekend of good vibes the whole family won't forget. The best-in-class fan experience meets racing's toughest drivers for 3 days of action on and off the track, all surrounded by the beautiful Estrella Mountains. NASCAR weekend at Phoenix Raceway, March 7th through the 9th. Get your tickets now at phoenixraceway.com.
Jim Rome here with your Rome Report. Look, I've got nothing against Yankees manager Aaron Boone personally. Solid dude, solid manager, famous baseball family. So no, I've got nothing against him personally, but I've got something against him crying and whining about a couple of Dodgers popping off on pods about the Yankees getting worked in the World Series. Specifically, him pointing to former Dodger Joe Kelly, saying that the Yankees base running and defensive woes were, quote, well known. And utility player Chris Taylor saying that the Yankees, quote, bleep down their leg, end of quote. Listen, they're not wrong. However, Boone replied, if we do get back, I'd like to think we'd, quote, handle things with a little more class, end of quote. Hey, Skip, how about this? How about you handle things right now with a little less butthurtedness? Worry less about what a couple of Dodgers are saying and more about not running yourselves out of any more innings or bleeping down your leg on the big stage. I'm Jim Rome. The All-Star Game is almost here, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite players. The app is simple. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code ROME and get $50 in bonus promo funds instantly when you play $5. That's code ROME on Prize Picks to get $50 in bonus promo funds instantly when you play $5. Win or lose, you'll get $50 in bonus credit just for playing guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. You do have to be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Roses are red, rosés are pink. Total Wine & More has your Valentine's drinks. The tasty cocktail makes Valentine's shine, and so does champagne or sparkling wines. Need a great idea? We'll help you pick. But hurry, because Friday is coming up quick. With the lowest prices for over 30 years and curbside pickup and delivery available, find what you love and love what you find this Valentine's Day. Only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Your caddy, Ray Adams, takes you beyond the 18th hole on Saturday mornings with Great American Golf from 6 to 7 a.m. on KDUS AM 1060.
Pitchers and catchers officially reported yesterday, the first day of school out there. Salt River Fields, moving us one step closer to the start of baseball season. And it's our first chance to hear from the players, from the manager, from the GM, from everybody involved. The offseason, still technically ongoing. There was some moves yesterday. We'll get to them a little bit later on in the show during the leftovers, but the attention shifts gears. It moves towards the 2025 season. And so this is really our first time to check in on the state of the roster, where things stand, what position battles we should be keeping an eye on as spring training unfolds 8 days away from the first game for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And everybody wants to know. It's the one question everybody has right now surrounding the 2025 Diamondbacks. Who's going to be the closer? Who's going to be the guy that gets the ball in the ninth inning? Who's the guy whose music's going to play when the team needs the final 3 outs to clinch a series victory over the Dodgers, or to finish a sweep of the Rockies, or to take 2 out of 3 on the road against Philly? Who's going to be the guy that Torey Lovullo turns to in those moments? Well, he was asked about it and gave a quote that I think leaves the door a little bit open. I'll read it to you and we can discuss exactly what it's going to look like. But when asked if he wants to have a specific guy, a designated closer, so that it's not a sort of merry-go-round of who's taking the ball in the ninth inning, he said, quote, "I would like to, but it's not going to be an absolute necessity for me. I don't want to just give somebody a job because it's going to make me feel better. I'm going to let these guys go out and perform and slot into a role or situation that's going to help the team win games," end quote. So he doesn't want to force it, but I think he makes it clear that he wants somebody to have that job. He wants somebody to take the bull by the horns and force his hand as spring rolls on. And somebody is going to pitch well enough this spring to where Torey Lovullo will designate that guy as the closer, because they need somebody to be their closer. It's nice to have a couple of guys that you trust. It's nice to live in a world where you like Justin Martinez in that role, where you like AJ Puck in that role, where Kevin Ginkel has had experience closing games and you trust him as well. It's nice to have multiple options. It's nice to have that interchangeability with the pieces of the bullpen. It's a nice comfort safety valve to have. But pitchers are creatures of habit. They have routines. The team needs to have a consistent closer. We can't be in the middle of May, in June, waking up, going to the ballpark, previewing a game, and wondering who the closer is going to be that given night. We can't go to the ballpark not knowing who is going to be asked to get those 3 outs. You got to know. It's got to be a defined role. But Torey Lovullo, I think in that quote, is making it clear. Right now, I'm not willing to name somebody, but I'd like to have somebody. The competition can begin. The competition is wide open. He left the door open for it to be Kevin Ginkel. We know that Justin Martinez and AJ Puck are going to get a nice look here. Those were the guys on the roster right now that got the most save opportunities last year. And so it's a pick your poison kind of choice. Do you go with AJ Puck, the lefty, although his time as a reliever is short, hasn't had a lengthy big league career as a reliever / closer, but so far the early returns are that he can be an elite shutdown guy, and he's a lefty. That's always a nice wrinkle to have in there as well. Do you give it to Justin Martinez, who has clearly the best pure stuff of any of the 3 guys? His pitch arsenal is the best. I will talk about it until I am blue in the face. A sinker at 101 miles an hour or more, if he is able to command that consistently, good luck to the rest of the National League. Good luck to the rest of baseball. That's one of the future elite closers of the game, if he can work on that command. So you could go with the pure stuff play, or Kevin Ginkel, who of the 3 has the most big league experience as a back end of the bullpen reliever. Doesn't have the best stuff, but would kind of be the old reliable, the tried and true, been there, done that, has been with the team the longest, has been up at the big leagues the longest. So sort of the old wily veteran who's been around the block a couple of times. Competition is a good thing. Competition will bring out the best in all of these guys. And I think leaving the door completely wide open, allowing it to be a full-on competition between those three guys is for the best. Somebody's going to go out there and earn it. Somebody is going to go out there and take this job. And you know what? If somebody has that type of performance in the spring where they take the job, that's the guy I want. That's the attitude. That's the mentality that I want as my closer. My closer can't be shaken. My closer can't be uneasy. My closer, the guy that I'm going to ask to get the most important outs during a baseball game, has to unwaver in the face of those high pressure moments. Has to be calm, cool, collected. Has to rise to the occasion. Has to handle the pressure. Well, guess what? You win the job in spring training, it means you went through the pressure. You showed that you were able to handle two other guys on your team threatening your spot. And so that shows that you have the mental makeup. Listen, there's a difference between being a reliever in a big league bullpen and being the closer. When we get to the playoffs, when we get to October baseball, that closer, he's coming in the 5th or 6th inning with 2 guys on, 2 guys out, and that's the key out that you need in the game where you're clinging to a 1-run lead. I need that guy when we get to October. I need that guy to be somebody that nobody questions, was that the right decision? The thought should be, this is the moment to bring in A.J. Puck. This is the moment to bring in Justin Martinez. And there is no debate. There is no question about it. When you start to have questions about who your closer is, opens up a massive can of worms. Remember what happened in the second half last year when the closer spot was up for grabs? When you weren't finding that consistency? When you didn't have that confident feeling in Paul Sewald being the closer? When you were uneasy when he would come into ball games? It's not that long ago. It was last year, the second half of last year, we saw that exact scenario play itself out. So I want an open competition. I want it to be a battle because the person who wins this battle in spring is going to show that they have the mental makeup for this. And in that role, to handle those situations, you have to have a top-tier mental game. I think the beautiful thing about it, it would not surprise me if any of those 3 guys gets the job. I know where I lean. I've told you this is a pure stuff play for me. I want Justin Martinez in those spots because his stuff is just unhittable when it's on. And more often than not, it is on. So I take my chances, hope that he can work through some of the command stuff here throughout spring, and hopefully he did some work in the offseason. I would love to see him be the closer of this team because I think that stuff is electric. You got to have the right mental makeup, but you also have to have the elite stuff. And I think Justin Martinez has that elite stuff. But I love the mentality that Torey Lovullo has about this, because this is not the only position battle that we are going to see play out over spring. There's another one that he kind of opened the door for. We'll talk a little bit more about it in hour number 2 of the program. Competition, man. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose, but Torey Lovullo is setting the stage for what the season is going to be, and he's starting it right now. I'll explain what I mean a little bit more in hour number 2, but competition is the word that I want you to remember. Because the Diamondbacks are preparing for a very, very long season, and they're starting it right now, and they are checking all of the right boxes here in the early going. Coming up on the other side of the break, your phone calls always 480-864-1060. If you want to hop into the program, your comments always welcome on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube channel, the live stream, the video version of the show. So we'll hear from you if you'd like to hop in on the other side. But coming up next, necessity is the mother of invention. It's time for the Suns to get creative. That's next on the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
The absolute best interviews and guests. Tune into The Dan Patrick Show live weekdays from 7 to 10 a.m. on KDUS AM 1060.
Hosier presents the Unreal Unearthed Tour 2025 live in Phoenix. Talking Stick Resort Amphitheater, October 7th. With special guest, Amble. Get tickets now at livenation.com. The #1 album, Unreal Unearthed, is available everywhere. For more, visit hosier.com.
Hey, basketball fans, Tom Chambers here reminding you that just like in a game, you need a solid defense for your home. And that starts with a reliable roof from Right Way Roofing. Hey, Lori, as owner of Right Way Roofing, what sets you apart from the competition?
Our team tackles any roofing challenge, from shingles to tile to foam roofing. We'll make sure your roof wins against the toughest opponents, rain, wind, and even those scorching summer days.
Make Right Way Roofing your MVP.
We're Right Way Roofing and we do it right. We'll always keep you watertight.
Springtime savings are going on now at Mark Kia at the Scottsdale Auto Show just off the 101 in Indian School.
If you've been waiting for interest rates to drop, wait no more. Right now, receive 0% APR for 72 months on the brand new 2025 Kia EV9. That's right, 0% for 72 full months.
Or you can receive up to $10,000 bonus cash. The name to remember, Mark Kia, Mark Kia. APR offer only for Kia Motors Finance. Not all buyers will qualify. Offer expires March 3rd, 2025.
Looking to sell your home? Hi, I'm Andrew the Home Buyer, and I love making it easy to sell your house. I'll personally come and give you a cash offer the same day we meet, and I'll beat any other offer. It really is that easy to sell your home, and no need to clean or fix anything. I'll buy it in as-is condition. Call me, Andrew the Home Buyer, today to get your same-day cash offer. Visit AndrewTheHomebuyer.com.
Are you tired of seeing rust stains in your sinks? Call Culligan. Or scrubbing hard water scale buildup from your fixtures? Call Culligan. We can customize whole home solutions to address common water worries found in Phoenix. And now, for a limited time, you can get better water at every tap in your home for $0 down, no payments, and no interest for 6 months. Problem water is no problem for Culligan. Contact your local water expert today. Contaminants may not be in your water. Dealer participation may vary. See dealer for details.
At the Phoenix Zoo, we are the home of and which also makes us the home of Phoenix Zoo. That zoo we are. For tickets, hours, and much more, visit phoenixzoo.org.
If there is one thing that we learned over the last 2 games that the Phoenix Suns have played, it's that the Suns might need to get a little more creative with their starting lineup and with the way they utilize their rotation, because the status quo has led us to talking about a 26-28 basketball team that, if the playoffs started today, wouldn't be involved, wouldn't be invited. I've said this many times before. The NBA gives out playoff spots like their participation trophies. The Suns aren't even good enough to get that. That's how bad this season has been. 20 teams make the playoffs in the NBA. 20. The Suns aren't even good enough to be one of those 20 teams. With Kevin Durant, with Devin Booker, and with Bradley Beal. The frustration just boils over at a point when those are the facts. That's the reality of the situation. And so when you are faced with a team that is 26-28 and is not in the playoffs right now, you got to get creative. You got to try stuff. The status quo is not working. So this week, we've seen a little more of Bol Bol. We've seen a little more of Ty Washington. We last night saw a little bit of Colin Gillespie. We were starting to see some of the younger players on this team draw into the lineup, draw into the rotation. Now, the Bol Bol stuff, I would say that's working so far. Double-double 2 nights ago against Memphis. Last night, 15 points, 4 boards, 2 blocks. Hit a key 3 late in the fourth quarter when things were kind of The court was tilted towards the Rockets, 104-101. He hits a big three to tie the game up. And, man, that's ice in your veins type stuff because things were tilted towards Houston. You could feel the game kind of slip out of control for the Suns. Ball hits a big three to kind of keep it close at that point. Ty Washington last night, 26 minutes, 11 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 turnover. And I want you to take that stat in particular and just keep it nice and close. Ty Washington in 26 minutes last night, 1 turnover. I said in the tease, necessity is the mother of invention. The Suns are in dire straits right now. The Suns need to turn things around. So that requires you to be inventive. It requires you to be creative. And so today is the day. We have a week until the Suns are back in action again. When this team comes back next Thursday, allow me to put it on record, Tyus Jones should no longer be the starting point guard of this basketball team. Because last night, for me, the final straw of Tyus Jones being the starting point guard for this basketball team. I'm just going to talk about a brief pocket of the game that led me to this point. I'll consult the notes here that I have written down. He checks in for Colin Gillespie at around the 9:19 mark of the fourth quarter. And then he proceeds to commit 3 bad turnovers, including 2 of them on back-to-back possessions. The Suns have a 97-96 lead, and they have the ball moving up the floor. They, on back-to-back possessions, Tyus Jones turns the ball over, and it's easy buckets on the other end for the Rockets. So a 1-point lead with the ball turns into, we are down 3, and this thing is spiraling because the point guard, the guy you brought here for those moments. Remember all the times last year that the Suns would give games away in the fourth quarter because they didn't have a point guard? They didn't have a veteran ball handler to keep things on the tracks, on the rails. So what do we have to do? We've got to get a point guard. It's priority number 1, 2, and 3. I need somebody that's going to take care of the basketball. I need somebody who's going to be the calm presence. I need a Chris Paul. I need somebody who in the fourth quarter is going to know to slow things down, who's going to be able to navigate the emotion, the energy, the momentum swings that will take place in the fourth quarter, but can be that nice, calm presence, like a warm blanket at night when it's cool outside. That's what a point guard for this team should have been, that nice, calming presence. And so they went out, and I was told, a coup to get Tyus Jones. Being a second apron team, they should not be able to land a point guard of the caliber of Tyus Jones. And yet Tyus Jones this year is having the worst year of his career when it comes to turnovers per game, 1.4. Most years he's under 1. Last year it was around 1. This is the worst year statistically of his career turning the ball over. He had 6 of them last night. I told you about the 3 in the fourth quarter in short order. He had another 3 the rest of the game. Enough is enough. You are 2 games below 500. You are not in the playoffs right now. Enough is enough. I need to see Ty Washington. I need to see Colin Gillespie. I need to see Monte Morris. I need to see somebody different getting run at point guard in these critical situations. You've got 3 other point guards on this roster. Give one of them a chance. Let me see an extended run of Ty Washington. It might crash and burn. It might be a disaster. But at least I see an effort to try and fix the problem. You've got a point guard who's supposed to be the steady hand in the fourth quarter, commit 3 bad turnovers, 2 back-to-back turnovers. Listen, you're going to turn the ball over the course of the game. We know that's what the Phoenix Suns are going to do. They are going to turn the ball over. It was bad again last night. But there's a difference between turnovers in the first half and turnovers with 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter when it is a back-and-forth game and you have a 1-point lead, and on back-to-back possessions, you make bad passes and it's going the other way for easy layups at the other end. You had a 1-point lead, and like that, 2 empty possessions at the hands of Tyus Jones flipped this game to 197. The building reacted to it. The players reacted to it. That's where the game was lost last night, was in that moment. We know that this team is still trying to compete, trying to win games, trying to get into the playoffs. There's a world where if they can mess around and get into the play-in tournament and maybe win in the first round, pull off a big upset, or at least be competitive against one of these top teams, there might be a group of people that tries to convince you to run it back again. That's a reality that we could live in. So we know they're still trying to do that. They are still trying to compete. If that's the case, then Tyus Jones needs to be removed as the starting point guard for this team. I am not saying to do to Tyus Jones what you did to Yusuf Nurkic. I'm saying you have to do to Tyus Jones what you did to Bradley Beal. And I know Tyus Jones and Bradley Beal on the floor together defensively is somewhat of a nightmare. So this is where necessity is the mother of all invention. You got to get a little creative. I need to see some more Ty Washington. Is he going to wow you? Is he all of a sudden going to fix all of the problems? I don't know. But he had only 1 turnover in 26 minutes. Tyus Jones had 6 in 33. So maybe we give Ty Washington a little more run in those key moments. Maybe we try to find some more time for Colin Gillespie. You also traded for a point guard when you made the deal for Yusuf Nurkic. So you've got 4 point guards sitting on your bench that you could give a little more run to. Why not try it? All turnovers are not created equal. Those back-to-back turnovers in the fourth quarter last night are backbreaking. They are completely unacceptable from a guy who was brought in supposedly to fix that problem. We weren't supposed to be having these conversations. That was supposed to be fixed. Tyus Jones was supposed to be the steady hand to limit the turnovers. Have we felt all year that the turnovers have been limited? Kevin Durant still committing them at a high clip. And the guy that was supposed to be the steady hand in the fourth quarter, that was supposed to just bring over this sense of calm when the game got tight and you needed to maximize every possession at the offensive end, he failed you last night in those moments. On 2 straight possessions, Tyus Jones failed the Phoenix Suns. Failed them. So, if this team is going to be competitive, if this team still has visions of being a playoff team, participating in the play-in tournament, then last night needs to be the final straw. Last night, enough became enough. It might not change if Colin Gillespie gets some run. It might not change if Ty Washington gets some run. But at least I see you trying. At least I see you not accepting your fate. At least I see you trying to make changes. I saw you move Bradley Beal to the bench. I saw you take Yusuf Nurkic and send him to Mars. I watched you do those things. So you can't tell me that you're afraid to hurt Tyus Jones's feelings. Bradley Beal is one of the highest paid players on this team. You moved him to the bench. You did so potentially in some ways to agitate him. So if you want me to take you seriously of trying to compete in the second half, again, we'll put air quotes around second half. If you want me to take you seriously, you want me to believe that you're trying to make the play-in tournament, to get that participation trophy, to be one of those 20 teams that makes the playoffs, then you got to make a change of point guard, because this is not the first time this has happened. And it won't be the last if we continue to see Tyus Jones down the stretch be the point guard for this team. I wanted to rip my hair out last night watching those back-to-back possessions. You want to talk about a way to completely kill the momentum of a basketball team. You are playing the Houston Rockets. You have no business in the fourth quarter with all the guys that are sidelined, being a 1-point lead with 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, but you're there. You've got a chance. You're going toe-to-toe with a young athletic team, which truthfully you have no business being in the game with, considering they're fresh, you're not. You've got a bunch of players sidelined, and yet you're there. You're in it. Those 2 plays kill all the momentum. demoralizes a group. Just absolutely brutal to have those turnovers in that spot last night. And so you know what? Enough is enough. Make the change. Could Ty Washington go in there and commit 6 turnovers? Absolutely. Could Colin Gillespie turn the ball? Sure. I don't think it's going to be worse than what we saw last night. I don't know if Ty Washington's going to turn the ball over in back-to-back possessions, but try it. See. You started Bowl at the 4 2 straight games. So why not? You are at a desperate time. There's no trade that you can make now to save you. You have to look at the roster that you have, and you have to try to make it work with that group. So you know what? Try it. Try it next week against San Antonio. Try it against Chicago. Try it against Toronto. At least show me that you are trying to figure this out. Coming up, on the other side of the break, we wrap up hour number 1 of the program. It is a big offseason for the Arizona Cardinals. Do we trust the man in charge? That's next on the lunch break. KDUS, AM 1060.
James Out West brings NFL, NBA, MLB, and local sports talk to you Monday night starting at 7 on KDUS AM 1060 and the KDUS 1060 app.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win, breakaway, pick six, three-point shot, underdog win, buzzer beater, shootout, walk-off, and absolutely every play in between is amazing. From football to basketball and hockey to baseball, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Arizona.
Deftones. North American Tour 2025. Live in Phoenix. Footprint Center, March 9th. With special guests, the Mars Volta and Fleshwater. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Presented by the Big Red Radio.
By now, you've heard all of our ads. America's largest injury law firm. But what does that really mean for our clients, for you? It means that when you hire us, you don't just get a lawyer, you get a legal army, almost 800 lawyers alone. That army includes an entire legal team, specialist lawyers, investigators, and a 24/7 client satisfaction staff. Just like if you were going into surgery, you wouldn't trust one person to handle the paperwork, the scheduling, the anesthesia, and the surgery. Have you ever seen a surgeon operating alone and without resources? No way. Why would you trust a small firm with your case? Your case is a big deal to us. When it comes to law, size matters. We're America's largest injury law firm, Morgan & Morgan. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
The Dan Patrick Show improves your mornings. The DP Show airs from 7 to 10 a.m., adjusting to that time change. Okay. Get your radios locked to 7 a.m. on KDUS AM 1060.
Wrapping up hour number 1 of the show. Make sure you download the KDUS AM 1060 app. It's your one-stop shop for everything we do here on KDUS AM 1060, and it's easy. You just download the app wherever you get your apps, whether you're a Apple iPhone user, Android user. I'm not going to shame you depending on what phone you use. That's something we do here on this show. I mean, I have a preferred platform. I don't own a single Apple product. In front of me is a non-Apple laptop that's running the show for the video, a non-Apple tablet, a non-Apple phone. So you see where I stand, you see my allegiances, but I'm not going to blame you if you use the inferior product. You can still download the KDUS AM 1060 app over there, and you can take us with you on the go. You don't have to just be in your car to listen to the lunch break. You don't have to just be in your car to listen to the Sports Zoo or any of the games that we have here on KDUS AM 1060. You can take us with you. So just download the KDUS AM 1060 app today. It does not take a rocket scientist to understand how important this offseason is for the Arizona Cardinals. It is the third offseason for Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon. They showed progress over their first 2 years here. And let's face it, when you are a brand new GM and a brand new head coach and you are brought in together, there is some house cleaning, some housekeeping that needs to be done over that first year, right? You have to completely evaluate all of the processes that were left over from the last regime. You have to look at the roster. You have to look at the practice schedule. You have to bring in your coaches. You have to install your culture. And oh, by the way, the guy you hired to be the head coach was a former defensive coordinator. So he's learning how to be a head coach. There's nothing wrong with that. It just takes time. He has to install the way he wants to coach things. He has to install the way he wants practice to run, how he wants each of his position groups to be coached. There's a lot of logistical work that needs to be done over that first year. Then you get to year 2, and you see a little bit of the progress, right? You see what we saw last year. You see a team that gets into the latter stages of the season and is in the mix. 6-4 going into the bye week. First place in the division. Playing meaningful football in December. Didn't work out. They didn't show up in those big games, but they played meaningful football. That is a box checked. They now need to get over the final major hump, which is this group with this regime breaking through and making the playoffs. They have a ton of cap space this offseason. This is the final year for Kyler Murray to answer the bell. I've said it before. I will say it again. If we are having some of the same conversations next offseason, the way we are this offseason, about struggling in December, struggling in the second half, struggling against the division, and it ends without a playoff berth, Kyler Murray is not going to be on the 2026 Cardinals. I feel very comfortable saying that now. So it's a very big offseason. There have to be major results this year. You can't go into training camp, the start of the season, with a bunch of unanswered questions all over your roster. We can't be asking the same questions about the pass rush group. We can't be asking the same questions about who the backup quarterback is. We can't be asking questions about the wide receiver room. There are just some things about this team that need to be settled when we get to camp. And everybody knows what the biggest questions are. They land on the defensive side of the ball. I said at the beginning, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. Look at any single publication that is starting to do off-season previews across the National Football League. CBS Sports, Yahoo Sports, PFF, The Ringer. You name the publication that might do the storyline of biggest off-season need for all 32 teams or biggest off-season question for all 32 teams. Whatever the framework might be, whatever publication you might read, it's pretty simple across the board. It's an easy question to answer. The Cardinals need to figure out what they're doing defensively. That was a patchwork effort all of last year. A impressive patchwork effort, but it was a patchwork effort. They were doing it with smoke and mirrors. Duct tape, Scotch tape. They were just patching holes left and right, just getting by. And they were playing pretty well. There was a stretch of the year where the defense was kind of lifting up the offense, was buying them time to try to get it into gear. But this offseason, they got to fill some of those holes permanently. We're not just using duct tape anymore. We're calling in the construction company. We're putting up new drywall. We're not just using command strips to cover up the holes. We are doing actual construction this offseason. That's where the resources are going to be focused. So here's the concern. Do you trust Monty Ossenfort to make those decisions? Do you trust him to oversee this construction project? Do you oversee him to bring in the right people for the job? Do you trust him to attack free agency in a way that will land the Cardinals in a better spot? When we get to training camp, I'll pull on a thread that we talked about yesterday. I said that the Arizona Diamondbacks, in my opinion, are a better baseball team right now than they were last year. When we get to training camp, how confident are you that the Cardinals will be a better team than they were last year? On paper, roster-wise. How confident are you? Somewhat confident? Very confident? Not confident? Would make a pretty good poll question. Maybe we should do some poll questions here moving forward. You know what, producer Dylan? Put that on the idea list. Do some poll questions. That would be a great one. How confident are you that the Cardinals roster will be better when training camp opens this year than where they were last year? Because look at the free agent acquisitions that Monty has made over his first couple of years. Is there anything to write home about? Is there a slam dunk in there? Last offseason, they signed Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols. Those are nice players. But guess what? Here we are in an offseason, still talking about the defensive line and needing an overhaul. We know that they haven't invested the resources into the edge group the way we would like. They made an in-season move for Baron Browning. We told you how that was going to go when they made the move. We said that they probably needed to do a little bit more. And Baron Browning is about to hit free agency, and nobody cares. There's not a single person out there that is clamoring for the Cardinals to bring him back. So that move, not that great. So we have Monty with limited draft capital, a so-so track record when it comes to free agents. Is he going to be able to make the impactful moves? And it's a free agent class that isn't all that great. And if there's one thing I would give Monty credit for, he is not the type of GM that feels like he is going to panic and all of a sudden trade a bunch of picks for Myles Garrett or make that big splash, especially when their draft capital is as limited as it is this year. So we are going to have to deal this offseason with a lot of patience. We're going to have to see what Monty is going to be able to cook up. Speaking of that, there's been this meme over the last couple of years of let Monty cook, right? When it comes to draft night, let him cook. Let him work. Let him work the phones. Let him maneuver around. Let him wheel and deal, do all that. And I can remember, sticks out to me like a sore thumb, everybody raving about the job Monty did in his first draft. Those videos of him wheeling and dealing on draft night, answering the phone, taking in a deal, looking at the board, calling other GMs. It was just a sight to behold. You felt like there was somebody who knew what they were doing at the wheel, right? You felt like you felt the confidence, right? You felt it ooze out of the videos that the Cardinals gave you. And rightly so, he handled that draft well. Guess what? Give me that GM handling free agency. Give me draft night Monty working in free agency. Give me that type of confidence. I don't feel that when it comes to free agency and Monty Ossenfort right now. Give me draft night Monty. Give me what we saw in those videos operating during the offseason. You give me that version of this GM, and you're going to have an impactful season. You are going to have an offseason that's going to lead us to say, yes, this roster is better than the one last year. Yes, they have answered all the questions. So give me that Monty Ossenfort. Give me draft night in his first year here, Monty, operating this offseason. If I get that guy, it's going to be a good offseason. You give me the guy that I've seen operating in free agency the first couple of years, I think we're going to have a lot of questions come training camp. Hour number 1 in the books. Coming up, the start of hour number 2. Is the relationship over between Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns? We'll get into it next. You're listening to The Lunch Break, KDUS, AM 1060.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
Alexis and I watch lawyers get out there and say they're going to get you a fast, easy, serious injury settlement. And we're like, what? Be like going to your cardiologist and asking for a fast, easy triple bypass. Hi, I'm Mark Breyer.
And I'm Alexis Breyer. We're the husband and wife law team. Fast and easy settlement actually is less work for the lawyer and less money for the client.
And you know who promises you that? People don't want to get out there and fight for you when you need them. Do your research after a serious injury. Call the husband and wife law team first.
This is Desert Diamond West Valley, where there's next level action and jackpot winning smiles all around. So get your shine on, light up the room, show us what it's all about. It's Love is in the Air. Every Thursday in February, take home up to $2,000. On the 27th, 2 winners say be mine to $10,000 cash. It's time to live the diamond life. Desert Diamond Casino West Valley.
An enterprise of the Donald Ogden Nation.
Bet with your head, not over it. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP.
9 Inch Nails. Live at Footprint Center, September 16th. Get tickets now at NIN.com. 9 Inch Nails, live in Phoenix. Peel It Back World Tour 2025.
Experience the beauty and excitement of the Scottsdale Arabian Horse Show and enjoy free admission with your dairy purchase. Simply buy $20 worth of milk, cheese, or yogurt at your local grocery store. Bring your receipt to the admissions booth and receive 1 free ticket. Don't miss this world-class event at Westworld, February 13th through 23rd. Real dairy fuels real adventures. Show your dairy receipt and rein in big savings. Brought to you by your Arizona milk producers.
Traffic? Get your sip on. Detour to McDonald's for deliciously bold premium roast coffee. Or maybe it's time to sweeten up that mid-afternoon slump with an icy cold sweet tea. Sip up. Or get your favorite soft drink to perk up after a long day at work. Sip yourself to happiness. Right now, get any size premium roast coffee, sweet tea, or soft drink for only $1.29. When you sip a good drink from McDonald's, it's all good. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Springtime savings are going on now at Mark Kia. Receive 0% APR for 72 months on a brand new 2025 Kia EV9.
The name to remember? Mark Kia. Mark Kia. Offer only through Kia Motors Finance. Not all buyers will qualify. $13.89 per thousand borrowed. Offer expires March 3rd, 2025.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
Hour number 2 of the lunch break. We appreciate you making us just a small part of your day. We've got you for one more hour here on the program. And it is just the story that won't go away. No matter what happens, no matter who says what, it is the story that will not go away. It is the story that I think, barring a miracle of the Suns going on an improbable playoff run, and I say that because the team is below 500 and not in a playoff spot today. And I'm not just saying get into the play-in tournament. I'm talking win a series. That feels like such a tall task today. So unless that happens, the conversations around Kevin Durant and his future with the Phoenix Suns are not going anywhere. And it doesn't help when you have a top NBA insider go on Get Up yesterday and say, quote, he's probably going to get traded this summer. He knows it. The Suns know it. The rest of the league knows it. They're going to enjoy him while they have him. It's not really controversial in all honesty. They're under 500. They have a $230 million payroll, then add over $100 million on tax on top of that, end quote. You know who that is? That's Brian Windhorst yesterday on Get Up. He knows it. They know it. The league knows it. That's what Brian Windhorst said yesterday about Kevin Durant's future, that he is as good as gone. These final 28 games will be the final 28 times that Kevin Durant suits up for the Phoenix Suns. I saw a story that listed the Rockets and the Grizzlies and the Heat and the Timberwolves as potential landing spots for Kevin Durant. It's already starting of where he might go in the summer when the Suns decide to move on from him. We are on the spectrum closer to a Kevin Durant trade than we are to a Kevin Durant extension. Think about where we are now to where we would have been at the beginning of the year. You would have said we are all the way on the other side towards a Kevin Durant extension. Times change, and they change very quickly. There was a story that I read this morning in The Athletic from their T-Wolves reporter, or he was on a podcast talking about how the Timberwolves did check in on Kevin Durant, and they had conversations and obviously didn't go anywhere, but the reporter said, hey, that might lead towards conversations in the summer. They kind of set the framework now for what a deal might look like in the summer. This isn't going away. Every single day, every single game moves us closer to this becoming a reality, and the noise is only going to continue to grow louder and louder, especially if the results continue to follow what we saw this week. Now, I gave the Suns all the credit in the world to start the show that I thought they showed some fight this week, but they still lost both games. And so after a while, those losses, if they continue to stack up, the noise is just going to continue to grow and grow. If they win and the focus is on the basketball, then maybe they can manage the noise a little bit. We've said that this week here on the show. But if they continue to lose, it's just going to continue to bubble up. And then it's going to become so out of control that it dominates the conversation. And we're kind of there. Get Up yesterday talking about this. It's not a story that's just going to quietly go away. Now, it also doesn't help when you have quotes coming out of the Miami side of things that paint Matt Ishbia in a not so great light. So Dan Le Batard on his show down in Miami covers the Miami Heat, has a good relationship, a decent relationship with Pat Riley, and I don't want you to forget that point here because I think it matters. But on his show yesterday, talked about how difficult it was for the Heat to deal with Matt Ishbia. And Le Batard said that the people that he talked to said that Ishbia was a nightmare, that he was doing things poorly. I'll read you the quote from his show. Quote, I will tell you after the Heat dealt with the Suns, Ishbia is a nightmare. The guy who owns the Suns trying to play general manager is making a mess of things as the rich person in charge of everything and wants to run his team and is doing so poorly as an amateur rich guy with toys and doesn't know that you don't try and make a trade for Jimmy Butler and just ruin everything by informing your superstar who came to be with you through means that aren't direct that he's going to be traded like that's a poison. You can't have that, and I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Durant left after this season, end quote. Now, again, Le Batard has a good relationship with Pat Riley. Interviewed Pat Riley for his show a couple of weeks ago. He has covered the Heat, has covered Riley for a very long time. There's an existing relationship there. So you have to put that context out there. This could be the Heat trying to do some nice PR, and they gave a story to a guy who has been there for a really long time. And so this could be from the Heat side of things. It's very likely that this is from the Heat side of things. But ask yourself, does it surprise you? Did anything I read in that quote from Le Batard talking about how you handled the Jimmy Butler thing poorly, Ishbia is a nightmare, he's the rich person in charge but is doing it poorly and didn't tell Kevin Durant and just has been a mess from the word go. Is any of that surprising? Is any of that different from what we have heard about Matt Ishbia in the past? Because there's more here. Le Batard went on to say that in these dealings that the Suns basically asked for the entire Heat team, that it wasn't just one or two young players, that they wanted basically everybody. Le Batard described it as the deal not even being close between the two sides. It was never close. The ask was apparently, quote, our entire team. Does any of it surprise you? Is any of what I am describing to you about the way that Matt Ishbia might have handled himself at the trade deadline or so far as the owner of the Phoenix Suns, does any of it surprise you? Is any of it counter to the way we have seen the Suns operate so far? Immediately trading for Kevin Durant the moment you become the owner. that summer trading for Bradley Beal, spending all of this money, having a tax bill or a total team bill of over $400 million. Something we have never seen a team do in the NBA, and it's not working. Just spending and spending and spending and not make bad decision after bad decision that has led to this moment where you have a team that might have to trade Kevin Durant this summer, is on track to trade Kevin Durant this summer and admit that this entire thing was a failure. One series win, one series sweep, never getting close to the NBA Finals, never getting close to winning the Western Conference, not anywhere close. To me, this confirms all of our worst fears about the Suns and their front office. It confirms all of my worst fears because I think if this team peters out the way it's trending right now, then I think you have to make wholesale changes with players. You have to make wholesale changes with coaches again. You have to make wholesale changes in the front office. But at the end of the day, the thing that scares me the most is that you can do all of that, and yet the person who is behind everything that we are watching on a nightly basis is still going to be the person in charge and with the final say. It's my biggest fear. We talked about this with the Draymond Green stuff, right? When Draymond Green's name was linked to a potential deal that would have sent Kevin Durant to Golden State, I said this would confirm my worst fear about Matt Ishbia not knowing what he's doing. These stories, these quotes that I'm reading to you today also confirm that fear. And it's that fear that makes me worried that they're not going to handle the KD situation right on the way out. That they are not going to maximize the one asset that they have that could expedite a retool. That you can change the players, that you can change the coaches, you can change the front office executives, but at the end of the day, the guy signing the checks, the guy making all of the important decisions is still Matt Ishbia, and Matt Ishbia's track record is one that is not very good. That's my fear. That is the concern that I have with the Phoenix Suns right now, is that all the changes that I think we are all open to seeing, I think at this point, we're all open to seeing Kevin Durant get traded. I think we realize that this hasn't worked, that you have to change course, and really the only way to change course is to trade Kevin Durant. I think we're all in agreement on that, right? I think we all understand that that's the best course of action. I think we would understand if Mike Budenholzer isn't the right coach to oversee a 2 or 3 year retool, right? So a coach change, I think, is something we could get on board with. I don't think there's going to be any complaints if there's changes in the front office. I think we all could get on board with all those things. I think we could all understand that those are good decisions for the long-term health of this organization. But none of it matters if I still have all of these concerns and all of these questions about Matt Ishbia. Kevin Durant's relationship with the Phoenix Suns appears to be over. You have national media members talking about it like it's a fait accompli, like it is the hay's in the barn. There is zero way for these two to get back together and for Kevin Durant to be on the team next year. He's under contract with the Suns next year. And people are talking about landing spots. Houston, Memphis, Minnesota, Miami. The exit strategy is being planned in front of our eyes. Does that relationship feel like it's going to be fixed over the final 28 games? And whose fault is it that the relationship soured? It's the guy who still might be in charge, despite all the changes that we might see come this offseason and changes that we would welcome. I would welcome all those changes with open arms. But if the guy at the top is still the same guy, if the guy at the top is still going to make the same mistakes, if he's not going to learn, listen, it's bad the way they handled the Kevin Durant situation. But if they learn from it, if they adjust from it, then okay. Peace. I can be okay with that. You made a mistake, but you learn from it. You're a young owner. You're new to this. You're new to the game. You've only been doing this for a couple of years. I expect you, what's the phrase? You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Oh, I expect you to kind of mess around for a while. You're going to smash some stuff. Stuff's going to get broken. I can live with that as long as you learn from it. But if you're going to make all these changes, if you're going to trade Kevin Durant and yet the status quo is still going to stay the same and it's still the same guy making the same blunders over and over and over again, then let's face it, nothing is going to change. Then Devin Booker's relationship is the next one that we will be paying attention to. His future is the next one that we will be paying attention to. The franchise all-time leading scorer might be out the door if you didn't learn from the way you handled this current era of Phoenix Suns basketball. Coming up on the other side of the break, changes, and lots of them, are coming to the Cardinals on defense. Is it going to be too much? That's next on the lunch break. KDUS, AM 1060.
The NAIA, JUCO, small college, high school sports, and you. Listen to Vince and Friends with the Varsity Sports Show here on KDUS AM 1060, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m.
It's time for the annual Santan Ford President's Day sales event. For 4 days only, get any new Ford for 1 cent above invoice. You heard right. All in-stock vehicles are priced 1 penny above invoice. That'll save you thousands off MSRP. And with once-a-year special financing rates, there is no better time to get the vehicle you want. Don't miss the biggest sale of the year. There's only one Santan Ford President's Day sales event. 4 days only. Starts Friday.
Restrictions may apply. Does not include specialty vehicles. See Santan Ford for details.
Here's a definition of a win-win situation. Getting your windshield repaired or replaced and getting a guaranteed minimum of at least $100 all the way up to $375 cash back in your pocket. Time for you to check out New Vision Auto Glass. See clearly, drive safely. See what I did there? Give them a call at 480-210-9090 or go to newvisionautoglass.com to see what kind of incentives and cashback you qualify for. Look, the valley heat, potholes, flying rocks, it's only a matter of time until your windshield gets cracked or chipped. So why not get the experts to come to you, repair or replace your windshield, give you instant cash back of up to $375 and give you dinner from Radisho Grill. Wait, hold up. 30 seconds, $375, new windshield dinner. You know what? I was wrong. It's not a win-win situation. It's a win-win-win-win. And it all starts with calling 480-210-9090 or going to newvisionautoglass.com, taking 30 seconds to fill out a form to get cash in your pocket, repair, replace your windshield, dinner at Rodizio Grill, and peace of mind. To me, the choice is clear. New Vision Auto Glass, proud partner of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
We're chatting with our guest, always safety first, 811 Megaphone Man.
Call 811 before you dig.
You never stray from your mission of letting homeowners, landscapers, and excavators know you should always call 811 before you dig.
Call 811.
Call for both small and big jobs. And 2 working days in advance?
811.
Any parting words? And I'm guessing they will be.
Call 811 before you dig.
Brought to you by Southwest Gas.
811.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The Mavericks' decision to trade Luka sent shockwaves through the NBA. Moving on from a generational superstar is rarely justifiable, and in this case, it's hard to defend, at least now. But if there's any rationale for the Mavericks' thinking, it might be playing out in Philadelphia. Joel Embiid, one of the league's more dominant forces, is locked into a supermax deal, just as Luka was destined to be in Dallas. But with Embiid's immense talent comes an undeniable concern about his health. Year after year, injuries have plagued the superstar, and that max contract is tying up their cap space. Flexibility is nearly non-existent. Then they added Paul George, another star with his own history of injuries. That only compounds the issue. Philadelphia's supposed big three, Embiid, George, and Tyrese Maxey, have been on the floor just 12 times this season. The Sixers are living proof of the risk that comes with banking everything on an injury-prone superstar. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. It's inevitable. Rain, snow, ice coming our way, making driving a challenge. Thankfully, the experts at Tire Rack know a thing or two about conquering winter's worst. New tires elevate traction and braking, and they will keep you safe. Tire Rack sells only the best, like the full lineup of Falken tires. Go to TireRack.com/Dan. Build a tire and wheel package for DIY installation. Ship fast and free and backed by 2 years of free road hazard protection. That's TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Hey, are you a whiskey lover? If so, you have to try the new Keeper's Heart whiskey. Keeper's Heart is one of the first to blend Irish and American whiskey, and it's really good. So good, in fact, Keeper's Heart has been recognized as one of the world's best whiskeys for the way it brings together the boldness of American whiskey with the smoothness of Irish whiskey. It's the perfect matchup. Keeper's Heart is a legend in the making. Trust us, you gotta try it. Drink responsibly.
Listener rewards for you with the KDUS 1060 app. Download today to hear all of the national and local shows you love. That's the KDUS 1060 app.
Well, it was a informative day yesterday in Cardinals land. They announced their final coaching changes for the 2025 season and saw a lot of movement on the defensive side of the ball. They announced a new defensive line coach. They announced a new linebackers coach, a new outside linebackers coach, and a new defensive quality control coach. They made some of those moves that we had heard of official, but there were some new ones in there, specifically Matt Feeney, the outside linebackers coach, and Alec Osborne, who's the defensive quality control coach. We didn't know that those moves were happening, but the Cardinals made that official yesterday. So a lot of overhaul. Your D-line's got a new man in charge, a new guy coaching the linebackers, a new guy coaching the outside linebackers, and then overall, your defensive quality control, you've got a new person at the wheel there. Now, yes, still have the same defensive coordinator, but that's a lot of new position groups that have new voices in the room. Now, that also overlaps with where we think there's going to be the most overhaul on the roster. So this is a basic math equation. You've got a bunch of new position coaches, and you have what is expected to be a bunch of new players. That equals a lot of new for the Cardinals on the defensive side of the ball in 2025. A lot of new. New coaches, new players, new everything. Is it too much new? Should we be concerned at the amount of overhaul that is taking place on the defensive side of the ball? Continuity is a very important thing. The Cardinals on offense, same offensive coordinator, same quarterback, same RB1, same wide receiver 1, same tight end 1. Kyler Murray's still here. James Conner's still here. Marvin Harrison Jr. is still here. Drew Petzing's still here. Across the board, all of the mainstays on they are still here. That group, those guys, can hit the ground running this offseason. They've been together now for at least a full year. Some of those guys longer. There's no getting up to speed for Marvin Harrison Jr. with Kyler Murray. That period took place last year. So you have that familiar relationship. You don't have to work through some stuff. You can work in the offseason. You can get better. You can grow that relationship even more, but you have an existing relationship. You're going to have new coaches on defense. That might mean a tweak in the system. It might mean a tweak in the way practices run. It might mean a tweak in verbiage, in language, in how things are done on a week in and week out basis. On top of that, you're going to add new players. Those new players, whether it's through free agency or whether it's with the 6 draft picks that the team is going to have, or if you trade for somebody, all of those new players have to learn their new teammates, have to learn their new coaches, have to learn the new system. And if you have rookies in there with your 6 draft picks, those guys have to learn how the NFL works across the board. And my guess is that their draft class is going to skew more defensively. Just a prediction on my part. We'll see how it plays out. But I would expect there to be a handful of defensive players in that mix as well. You have a lot of new. It takes time to adjust to new. You start a new job, right? You might be moving from one company to the next. You might be moving from Microsoft to Google. You might be doing the same job with a similar job description, but you know what? You have to learn the new workflow. You have to learn the new internal communication system. You have to learn where the bathrooms are. You have to learn where the cafeteria is. You have to learn how you deal with your team members. You have to know what buttons to push, what buttons not to push, how your boss works, when it's important to bring a problem to their attention, or when you should just deal with it yourself. Guess what? That takes time. You don't feel comfortable in a new job until what? A couple of months in? I started here in August. It's now February. It took me till, I would say, probably November or December from when I felt fully comfortable. We got the show off the ground. We're doing the show every day. I came up with the right workflow to make sure I could handle both the on-air duties and everything I do off the air. It took time for me to find my routine. That is the exact same thing that the Cardinals are going to have on defense because they have a whole bunch of new. This team doesn't have the wiggle room for growing pains. We told you in hour number 1 of the program how important of a year this is for this team. This is a make it or break it. There can be no excuses. We can't get to the end of the road next year and say, well, we added a bunch of players on defense and we drafted a bunch of guys and it just took a while for them to get comfortable, but don't worry, next year's going to be different. That's off the table. This is year 3, man. Kyler's got to show up. This team has to make the playoffs. You have to hit the ground running. Now, in defense of all of the new, it's required. They need to bring in a bunch of new players on defense. They needed to bring in a bunch of new coaches on defense. They need more out of their defense in 2025. They have to make wholesale changes. They're not doing this just because. They're doing this on purpose. They have to do this. It is a requirement. It is not optional. It is a required thing they have to do this offseason. This defense needs to be better. There needs to be more talent. They have to solve their pass rush woes. But it could take some time. And I'm worried about how long it's going to take for all of this new to gel. If you want to have confidence that it's going to be a smooth transition, you are going to point to the fact that you have the same head coach who's a defensive-minded guy, so his philosophies, the way he wants things done, are going to relatively stay unchanged. And you have the same DC who is carrying out those marching orders from the head coach. You have the important continuity at the top. The changes are more at the mid-level. It's also going to change the way the roster looks, but the higher up, big picture stuff remains unchanged. So if you want to believe that this is not going to take as much time, if there's no reason to be concerned, then you're going to point to this stability that they have up top. But the offense has way more stability to it than the defense. And we know how critical this offseason is for the defense. And so you're adding in some extra elements to the recipe that could make it a little bit more challenging to hit the ground running defensively. There's a lot of pressure on Monty and Jonathan and this defense. There's a lot of pressure on that side of the ball. There's a lot of pressure to improve that unit, to improve that group. And so you're adding to that pressure by also saying there's going to be a bunch of new coaches in here. And again, most of it, if not all of it, was out of necessity. But you've just made the challenge even bigger for you to overcome. 480-864-1060 is the phone number if you want to hop into the conversation here today on the show. You also have the Lunch Break YouTube live stream. Just search KDUS AM 1060 not wherever you are. You got to go to YouTube. I'm so used to plugging the podcast. You got to search KDUS AM 1060 on YouTube. You click on the YouTube link there. You can join us and hop into the live chat and get your comments read over there. Coming up on the other side of the break. Some, they might say it's an issue. Why it might be exactly what the Diamondbacks need. I'll explain next on the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
Have you downloaded the KDUS 1060 app yet? Download today and get all of your favorite local and national shows right on your phone.
Ghost World Tour 2025. Ghost Theatrical Heavy Metal Arena Rock. August 11th, Footprint Center. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Don't miss Ghost.
It's the perfect time to elevate your home at the Living Spaces President's Day event, where you can start fresh and save big. Lounge in style on sofas starting at $350. Enjoy entertaining with dining sets starting at $295. And rest easy with queen beds starting at $195. Plus, pay no interest for 24 months on select purchases with your good credit and get free shipping as soon as next day. Don't miss incredible deals during the President's Day event, only at Living Spaces.
Living Spaces.
Hi, Luis Gonzalez here. Want to bet? Feel the thrill of Casino Arizona with 1,400 of the hottest slots and nonstop table game action. We make winners, no experience necessary. Join us for the best bingo in the valley with daily sessions. Indulge in all-you-can-eat Eagles Buffet or enjoy fine dining experience at the award-winning Choya Steakhouse. Enjoy top-notch local entertainment, tribute bands, and viewing parties at CAZ Sports Bar, just off the 101 in McKellips. Casino Arizona, uniquely Arizona.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I'm Kevin Rowe from Lerner & Rowe, and we've been serving Arizonans for 20 years. Make the best choice after an accident. Call 977-1900. That's 977-1900.
Lerner & Rowe is the way to go. Call 977-1900. 977-1900.
Healthy hearts love longer. They let you be there for all of life's most precious moments, big and small. That's why the expert cardiologists at Dignity Health never miss a beat. They work alongside a cardiology care team to guide you through whatever comes your way. It's our job to keep your heart in tip-top shape so you can be there for whatever greatness comes next. Find your doctor today at dignityhealth.org/azheart. Dignity Health. Hello, human kindness.
When you help St. Mary's Food Bank feed Arizona families in need, it feeds something in you too. It feels great knowing you're helping others put food on the table. And it feels like nothing to your wallet, because you get a dollar-for-dollar Arizona charitable tax credit up to $938. So donate today at stmarysfoodbank.org. You feed others, and your kindness doesn't cost you a thing.
Your morning drive just got a little better. The Dan Patrick Show is live weekday mornings starting at 6 exclusively on KDUS AM 1060.
Welcome back into the program. The lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Also got you on the KDUS AM 1060 app and on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube channel. So a bunch of different ways for you to hop into the program here today. We talked in hour number one about the closer competition that we are going to see play out over the course of spring training. But there is another competition that is going to play out during spring training. That is because the Diamondbacks have 7 starting pitchers for 5 spots. Now, some of you might look at that as poor roster management. Some of you might be wondering why Jordan Montgomery is still a member of this team, why he is still on this roster. I look at this as a huge opportunity and the perfect thing for this team. The National League West this year is going to be a 12-round championship boxing fight. It is going to be a slugfest. It is going to be 162 games of pure chaos. That's at least how I view the National League West. I do not think that the Dodgers are just going to roll over everybody else. I think the Diamondbacks will be heard from. I think the Padres will be heard from. I think the Giants will do their best to be heard from. You have a division full of everybody but the Rockies that are trying to compete in the National League. 12-round championship level fight. All season long. All year long. It's going to be that. It is going to be a battle until the last possible second. If you are going to shock the Dodgers, if you are going to somehow take it to them for the full 162 and bring this to the last week of the season, it is going to take everything that this team has. Now, luckily, I think they've got enough in the tank to be able to do it, but it's going to take everything. So if it's going to take everything, why not start that process right now? Why not have maximum competition from the get-go? You want to beat the Dodgers? You want to win the National League West? You want to win 90 games? You want to shock the world? You want to be the talk of baseball like you were when you signed Corbin Burns? Remember, Diamondbacks came out of nowhere. Nobody talking about them signing Corbin Burns. Shocked the entire baseball world when they landed him on a 6-year, $210 million deal. You want to shock the world again? Everybody is anointing the Los Angeles Dodgers as the kings of the National League. I have said on record that I think if they stay healthy and they play to their talent level on the back of their baseball cards, they could break the single-season wins record. That's a lot of ifs, though. If you want to shock the baseball world just like you did in the offseason, how about you beat your teammates first? How about you have competition from the word go? Because you know the competition's going to be there in the regular season. How about the competition to be one of the 5 guys that lands into the Diamondbacks rotation? Earn your spot. We all think that Jordan Montgomery can be better. We all think that it was because he didn't have a full spring training why he pitched to a 6 ERA last year. Okay, Jordan, go out there and prove it. You think Brandon Pfaadt deserves a spot in the rotation? You believe he's one of the 5 best starting pitchers for the Diamondbacks? Brandon, you've got a whole spring training to beat out everybody else. Eduardo Rodriguez, you think that contract was still a good decision by the Diamondbacks? You think he still has something left in the tank? Then you're going to see signs of that in the spring. Everything is in front of these guys to prove that they belong and that prove that they deserve one of these final spots. Same goes for Ryan Nelson. I don't want to leave him out. You think he is the under-the-radar guy in this rotation? You think he's not being talked about enough? Watch out for Ryan Nelson. He could surprise and make this rotation. You believe that? He's got a full spring training to prove it. All of these guys have a full spring training to prove it. Jordan Montgomery's not joining in the latter stages of spring training. There's no health concerns with any of these guys as spring begins. It is going to be all systems go. 7 guys, 5 spots. Let's do this. You have 2 Cy Young candidates at the top of this rotation that are going to breed competition. There is going to be a competition just to be the best inside the walls of Salt River Fields. There is going to be a competition to just be the best inside the walls of Chase Field. You have 2 Cy Young candidates. You have 2 of the best pitchers in the National League and 2 of the best pitchers in all of baseball manning the top of your rotation. If you don't think that's going to bring out the best, or at least it should bring out the best in everybody else, that's why you go out and sign Corbin Burns. That's why you don't trade Zach Gallen ahead of free agency. You roll the dice and you let it play out for one more year. I think this is exactly what this team needs. I think this is perfect. Let's look at it, right? We know. Corbin Burns, rotation spot. Zach Gallen, rotation spot. Merrill Kelly, rotation spot. We think those 3 guys are locks. And Torey Lovello said yesterday, one of the other important things that he said, 6-man rotation off the table. They are not going to do that. Now, there's pros and cons to that, right? If you go to a 6-man rotation, you can manage innings. You can make it to where you have Corbin Burns late in the season because his workload's a little down. You have Zach Gallen late in the season because instead of making 30 starts, he's making more like 25 starts because you find these additional starts throughout the year for the sixth man in the rotation. So you can keep the innings down, you can keep guys fresh, and we don't need a history lesson. We watched it last year. Injuries in a rotation can pile up very, very quickly. So those are the pros of going to a six-man rotation. The cons? Pitchers are creatures of habit. You now have added a sixth guy. There's an extra day of rest now arbitrarily built into this. And now you've used a roster spot that could add another arm to your bullpen for a rotation guy. And now maybe you make that sixth guy a swing guy who can go back and forth. But if you're going to go with a true traditional six-man rotation, it means you are going to operate with one less reliable, trustworthy, accountable, regularly available reliever in the bullpen. So if that's off the table, we're going with 5. Burns, Gallen, Kelly. Those 3 guys are in. So we've got 2 spots up for grabs, and we've got 4 guys. In my opinion, Brendan Pfaadt, lock. Put him in there. Now, Eduardo Rodriguez's contract, it probably makes him a lock. The fact that he didn't end last year as a member of the bullpen probably makes him a lock. But if Jordan Montgomery has an excellent spring, if Ryan Nelson has an excellent spring and outperforms Brendan Pfaadt or outperforms Eduardo Rodriguez, then maybe those spots are truly up for grabs. Maybe we do have a competition for those final 2 rotation spots. But all 7 of these guys throughout the year are likely to make starts for this team. You do not end the year most of the time with the same rotation that you started the year. It just doesn't happen in today's baseball. Injuries, innings limits, managing the rotation late, setting up your rotation for the series late in the year. You're going to need guys. So let's push this rotation now. Let's push all 7 of these guys to be their best right now so that when we get to September, let's back it up. When we get to August, and you're playing key series against the Dodgers, and you're playing key series against the Padres, and you're playing the Giants, and maybe you draw the Phillies. I don't have the Diamondbacks schedule up in front of me, but you're playing those key games in August and September against divisional opponents that this team is already battle tested. They have already gone through the ringer to get to a spot where they're in this rotation. Now, again, the roster feels, I think, pretty landlocked with contract options and how much guys are being paid and roles that we've seen them in the past. But I only see 3 full locks. I think the last 2 spots are going to be performance-based. I give Brendan Pfaadt an advantage because he's been there, done that, made 30 starts last year. I give Eduardo Rodriguez a upper hand because of his contract and because he hasn't really been a reliever in his past. Jordan Montgomery in the bullpen last year. Ryan Nelson has minor league options. There are easy ways to get out of those 2 guys being in the rotation. So the upper hand, the advantage for those final 2 spots, go to Brendan Pfaadt, go to Eduardo Rodriguez. But if those guys have terrible springs and the other 2 guys have excellent springs, then we're going to have some tough conversations. But let's have it. Let's hash it out. Let's have this battle over spring. Let's be battle tested for the 12-round championship fight. You want to get ready for a boxing match, a championship fight? You don't go easy in training. You manage it, but you push yourself. You test yourself to when we get to the 10th, 11th, 12th rounds. You have that little extra. So I think the closer battle and the rotation battle that we're going to see play out here over the rest of spring, I think it is perfect. I think it is exactly the message that this team needs to send, that Torey Lovullo needs to send up. We are going to be in a dogfight all summer. It is going to be a battle. You are going to earn it. If you're going to win 90-plus games, if you're going to improve on last year, if you're going to be relevant in the National League West, you are going to earn it. So we're going to start earning it now. I think it is the perfect message for this team. Perfect message. So we'll see how it plays out over the course of spring. Coming up next, last call, 480-864-1060 if you want to hop in. We've got the leftovers, a baseball story, an NFL story, and you never know what else we might sneak into the leftovers. So we'll wrap up today's edition of The Lunch Break. We'll do it next. KDUS AM 1060.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m.
This is just something I like to call breakfast.
With big name guests, timely sports information, and more on KDUS AM 1060.
Rock legend Billy Idol. Live in Phoenix. Billy Idol. It's a nice day to tour again. With very special guest Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Live at Talking Stick Resort Amphitheater, April 30th. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Part of the America First Credit Union Concert Series.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. To learn more, visit one of our 12 Phoenix Sleep Number stores or visit sleepnumber.com.
Let me introduce y'all to my canes. We got chicken fingers. They hit the spot, baby. Fries are golden crispy, Texas toast crunchy, and they cane sauce creamy rich. One love.
Breakfast!
Mom, my jersey.
In the dryer.
Mom, have you seen my science project?
Front closet.
Hey, I'll run out and pick up your mom's.
Already got it.
Oh, nice.
All right, out the door in 3, 2, 1.
At Banner Health, we're here to help you feel 100% so you can give 110. Because we know your health is what enables you to get where you need to go and bring everyone along with you. Banner Health. Exhale.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
It gets a little crazy in the sports zoo sometimes. Listen weekdays from 5 to 6 p.m. with the Rooster right here on KDUS AM 1060.
Welcome back in the lunch break, wrapping up today's edition of the show. I have a bit of a programming note for everybody. Because tonight, supposed to be starting at 7:30 with the pregame right here on 1060, supposed to be NAU men's basketball. Well, I had a phone call earlier today. I consider him a good friend, the play-by-play voice of NAU. Mitch Stroman called me up and he said, Chris, I got some news for you. I said, what do you got for me, Mitch? He goes, there's some weather coming up here in Portland. We're moving the game up so we can get out of here. So a little programming note for you, and I'm waiting for the final confirmation on this. But just as a heads up, game's not going to start at 7:30 with the pregame with the tip at 8. They're moving it up. It's going to be at 4:30 today pregame, 5 o'clock tip. And so if you want to listen to that game, if you're interested in following some NAU basketball, that is the time that it is going to start, and it is going to be on 14:40 a.m. tonight. So just a little bit of a programming note here as we get out of here on a Thursday, wrapping up this edition of the lunch break. So a quick little programming note. So if you're looking for NAU basketball later on today, time's changed. Moving up, trying to beat a winter storm that's rolling through up there in Portland. So 4:30 pre, 5 o'clock tip's going to be over on 14:40 a.m. later on today. Okay, let's get into the leftovers. I've got a baseball story and an NFL story. Alex Bregman, late last night, signed a 3-year, $120 million deal with the Red Sox. And yesterday, I questioned what kind of deal Alex Bregman could have gotten. I was surprised when I saw this number. I didn't think a $40 million AAV was on the table for Alex Bregman. I thought he kind of overplayed his hand. At the start of the winter, some of the contracts that were being rumored that Bregman wanted, over $200 million, 7 or 8 years, just felt like he had a complete misread on the market. I didn't see a world where he was going to land that mega long-term deal over $200 million. Just never saw that coming together for him. And the offseason kind of played out that way, that his want of a long-term deal, his want of a big money deal just Just wasn't there. Now, he signed a 3-year, $120 million deal with the Red Sox. A $40 million AAV, even if it's on a short-term deal, is insane, in my opinion. It's insane. I know Alex Bregman's a good player, and I know it's only a 3-year commitment, but $40 million for Alex Bregman, that is wild to me. Now, there's some deferred money that brings the present-day value down to about 90, so it's a $30 million AAV if you look at it that way, but still, more than I thought that he was going to get. And you are noticing, because Nick Pivetta also signed a deal with the Padres yesterday, nobody wants to go down the path that Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell went down last year, signing into the last possible second. They want to sign deals, get into camp, not be behind the 8 ball. They want to hit the ground running. They don't want to get limited spring time. They don't want any of that. Bregman signed. He's reportedly supposed to show up at camp tomorrow for the Red Sox, so hasn't missed any. Remember, pitchers and catchers are just reporting. It's not the official report day for all these guys across the board, so not going to miss any time. And so you could tell that there was a drop-dead date of, I'm not missing the start of actual team activities. I'm not missing that if you're Alex Bregman or if you're Nick Pivetta. But the Red Sox clearly wanted to open up for them a smallish window over the next 3 years with Bregman. They're going to try to bring it to the Yankees in the American League East. The division, I think it should be fun. I think the Red Sox have a much improved lineup. I think their lineup can score some runs. They have an interesting rotation. If you look at the names in the rotation for the Red Sox, I don't think there's anybody that's going to wow you. They did land the big fish this offseason by trading for Garrett Crochet of the White Sox. But other than that, they have just a bunch of dudes, right? They have a very deep rotation. I wouldn't call it top heavy, but they have a ton of guys. And they have a ton of guys that if they hit their floors, not their ceilings, but hit their floors, it's a pretty decent rotation to go with what I think is one of the better lineups that you're going to see in baseball. They're ready to bring it to the Yankees. Now, the Yankees lost Juan Soto. They have some questions in their lineup. Is the bet of Paul Goldschmidt and Cody Bellinger going to pay off? Is Max Fried adding to that rotation? They already have Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon. Is their run prevention game going to be enough to maybe hide some of their offensive issues that I think we all have? I think this is gearing up to be very mid-2000s, very old school Yankees Red Sox, where they are the focus of the American League East. The Rays kind of took a small step back last year. The Blue Jays, who knows what they're doing? The Orioles, they kind of have to prove it. They've had a very quiet offseason. Very quiet offseason. Lost Corbin Burns. Would expect more from a team that just changed ownership groups and you thought had more money to spend. You thought they would be bigger players. They weren't. A lot of questions here. So I'm excited. Listen, Yankees, Red Sox, you may be bored by it. It might make you sick. You may want to throw up in the nearest trash can when I mention it, but I think it's good for the growth of baseball overall. And so I think this Bregman deal, 3 years, 120, and I have to apologize because I did not expect Alex Bregman to do that. I did not expect him to ultimately land that kind of deal. So we'll see if the bet pays off for the Red Sox and if they're able to bring it to the Yankees. I think they certainly have a good chance to. In NFL news, the Jets made it official today. They put out a statement saying that they have officially told Aaron Rodgers that they are going to part ways. Now, they haven't actually gone through with the mechanics of letting him go. They can't officially do that until the new league year starts, but they said in a statement that they informed Aaron Rodgers their plans to move on and go in a different direction at quarterback next year, that it will not be number 8 under center, thanked him for his 2 years, and that they are moving on. Now, because they put out this public statement, because they informed him that they are moving on, there's actually this weird quirk in the rules where he is free to talk to teams. He's free to gather information because they made it official. They put out a statement. They don't have to wait until the actual mechanics and the mechanism of releasing him. He kind of gets a jump start on all of this because they made it official through a club statement. So an interesting thing there. He can kind of get a jump on that. So where does he go? What teams might be interested in adding Aaron Rodgers? Is the team that shares a building interested? What does Aaron Rodgers want in his next team? He's getting older. He's 41, going to be 42. You would expect him to want to go to a win-now situation. So the team in the same building, the New York Giants, that doesn't feel like a win-now situation. What does Pittsburgh do with their quarterback spot? Could that be a landing spot? Mike Tomlin, Aaron Rodgers, they seem like they could get along. San Francisco feels like they're just going to pay Brock Purdy the $60 million a year. Whether or not you think that's a good idea, they're certainly leaning towards doing that. At least it appears that's what they're doing. So that is in a spot. Who else needs a quarterback? Could New Orleans move on from Derek Carr? Could the Rams move on from Matt Stafford? I'll believe that the Rams are moving on from Stafford when we actually see the transaction happen. The Saints moving on from Carr, I could see that. Is Aaron Rodgers the kind of quarterback that Kellen Moore wants to bring in his first year as head coach there? That doesn't seem very likely. Minnesota, are they going to move on from Darnold? They want to give J.J. McCarthy some time. Is Aaron Rodgers going to complete the full Brett Favre? Packers, Jets, Vikings? Could be a possibility, but you can tell there aren't a lot of easy slam dunk options for him. Does he even still want to play? Or does he look at the landscape right now, see that there aren't many options, looks at maybe not wanting to play on a bad team? Listen, there'll be some bad teams that might be interested. But he wants to win. He wants to compete. He doesn't have 2 or 3 years. He maybe has 1 or 2. So does he look at the landscape and say, you know what? I'm good. I was on the fence about even going to the Jets in the first place. Had to go on the darkness retreat. Had to live in the dark for, 3 days. Came out of the darkness retreat wanting to play for the New York Jets. And then had 2 bad years in New York. But he was halfway. He had 1 foot out the door towards retirement the last time that he was confronted with this kind of decision. And so now that he's confronted with it again, does he just say, you know what? I'm good. I won the Super Bowl. I tried to win the second. I tried to fix the New York Jets. I gave it my best. I got hurt. That's where it all went south. And then I was 40 years old coming off of an Achilles injury, trying to make it happen. And it just was a complete disaster. And so you know what? I'm good. I could very easily see him doing that. Especially because the NFL is probably going to tell him by the lack of suitors that are going to line up, we don't really want you. And so he might be interested in getting in front of that and saying, you know what? I'll just retire. And now this leaves a very important question. What do the Jets do? They now become players in the quarterback market across the board. They become players potentially with a reunion with Sam Darnold. They become players if Matthew Stafford gets traded. They become players if another quarterback shakes loose in a different market. They certainly become players trying to maybe trade up from 7 in the draft to get a Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward. They have Tyrod Taylor on their roster right now, but they become players. Their quarterback room is unsettled. So they become a team to very much keep an eye on here this offseason. And if they try to go the draft route, if they try to make a move to move up, changes everything about the way the draft plays out. And for the Cardinals sitting there at 16, waiting for the board to fall to them, we're going to pay very close attention across the board, across the entire landscape of the draft to see, will these quarterbacks go number 1 and number 2? Will these quarterbacks slide? If those quarterbacks do slide, is it good for the Cardinals? Is it bad for the Cardinals? When you pick in the middle of the draft, when you pick where the Cardinals pick, you have zero control. Zero. None whatsoever. You are at the mercy of what the 15 teams in front of you do. So you may have this perfect dream scenario. Guess what? That dream could very easily become a nightmare on draft night. You might think there's only 2 players that you want to take at 16, and you might get to 16, and both of those players might have been picked already. If the quarterbacks fall and that pushes the other players up the board, you may not like your options at 16. It's why picking in the middle of the draft is sometimes the worst spot to be. I'd rather be all the way at the front, or you know what? All the way at the back because I've had a good season. I'll pick at the back. No worries. Means I had a pretty good year. Picking in the middle, you're kind of in that purgatory area. And that's kind of an analogy for where the Cardinals sit in their franchise right now anyway. Which way are they going to go? We talked about that yesterday. We know how big of an offseason this is. So the Jets potentially jumping into the quarterback circus, either via free agency and the draft, has its tentacles all over the place of how it could impact draft night for the Cardinals, how it could impact free agency for the Cardinals. Because maybe a team that was interested in signing Sam Darnold doesn't land Sam Darnold because he goes to the Jets, so they choose to spend that money on somebody else in free agency that the Cardinals might have been interested in. You just don't know how all of this stuff plays out. But the Jets are in. Where Rodgers will play, who knows? Jim Rome is next. Producer Dylan, thank you for all that you do. Hope everybody has a great rest of your Thursday. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya!